Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Legislative Action Committee call on April 22nd. Glad to have you aboard today. It's a beautiful day outside, so kudos to those of you who are on the call and out outside enjoying the nice weather. We have a little bit more modest agenda today, but do at the front end want to encourage people to participate and to share whatever you have throughout the meeting, or at the end if you want to report out on things on the agenda. But we would love to hear from you and find out what's going on in your neck of the woods. So with that, let's turn it over to Laurel for some housekeeping.
Hi everyone, this is Laurel. That was Eric who was just speaking. We also have Jason in the room and our new employee, Katie. And we're all glad that you can join us today. Just a couple housekeeping notes for anyone who's new to the Legislative Action Committee. If you are new to GoToWebinar as well, there's a couple things for you to look at on your dash. There is a question box where if you have questions throughout, you can go ahead and type them out and send them to us. Send them at any time and we'll answer them as they come in. And we'll have time at the end as well. All of you should be muted with your microphones, so if you really need to speak to us, if there's something that you need to say and it's too long to type out, you can raise your hand and we'll acknowledge you and make sure that you're in a place that doesn't have a lot of background noise before we unmute your phone so that you can report out to everybody. This is being recorded, so if you missed something or if you want to share this with the group, it will be put up on our YouTube channel and our GoToWebinar channel shortly after the recording or shortly after the webinar. We do not do notes, so I won't be able to send out like a quick one-pager for you guys to review, but I have included in the handout section at the bottom of your dash today's PowerPoint as a PDF. So you can play along, you can click on the links, and you can refer to that as your notes if you need to report out to anybody. Because I know a couple folks on this call do report out to the larger groups that they participate in about the Legislative Action Committee. I think that's it for housekeeping, but again, want to thank everybody for being here and for joining us for what will hopefully be a shorter Legislative Action Committee call today. So our standard agenda, we are going to go quickly through some brief state updates, federal updates, and then for our policy priorities, which those of you who have participated in the past know we're focusing on increasing access and decreasing barriers to affordable rental units. We're going to focus on a report out from our Advocacy Day, which was last Tuesday. And then we're just going to kind of wrap up and make sure that if you guys have anything that you'd like us to know about what's happening in your community, you have the opportunity to do that. And on that note, just to make sure everybody is following along, I have a quick poll for you guys. We tend to do this at the beginning of the call just to make sure everybody is aware. So if you have something that you want to let us know about from your community, go ahead and let us know so that we can make sure we have plenty of time at the end of the call for people to report out. If you don't have anything, it's perfectly fine. We like this to be as participatory as possible, but we recognize sometimes it's nice to just sit there and listen to the call and not have to report out. So I'm seeing a couple of folks, at least one person has something to report out. I'm going to give you about 5 more seconds to go ahead and respond to this poll. And while you guys are doing that, I'll go ahead and close it. Looks like we do have someone who's raising their hand. Tina, want to make sure that you actually did want to have us unmute your microphone. So go ahead and use the question box and just let me know if you want us to unmute you, and we'll do that here as we get started. So let's go ahead and move on with our agenda and talk about some state updates. So this is our opportunity to kind of inform you guys about what's happening primarily at the legislative level, but also within the state agencies that we work with. And so I wanted to kind of give everyone a bit of an update on the appropriations process because we do have a slightly different timeline this year. And for those of you who participate in this regularly and in our Advocacy Day, you know that funding is something that we always focus on. It's one of our priorities every year. And so it's really important to us to be able to kind of follow the appropriations process as it goes through the state legislature. So the governor did release her budget in March, and we reported out on that last month. There were several things we were very excited about, but there were a couple things that were missing. So we're also working with legislative offices to see if there are things that can be inserted into the process through their end of things. We do not have a draft budget yet for us to respond to from the legislature, but they are meeting, all of the subcommittees are meeting, and they're getting expert testimony from the agencies and opportunities for people from the field to come in and talk about issues that are important to them. So for example, we have had a couple folks from the State ID Task Force come in and give some excellent testimony about an item that was on the governor's bill or the governor's budget in response to birth certificates. And hopefully there will be more opportunities for us to kind of engage with the legislative process as we move along. But we're hearing that in the next couple of weeks, hopefully the legislature will have their draft budgets, and then we'll have more opportunities to respond directly to the items that they've put out there. And then there will be a process of reconciliation as they move forward. Typically in the past, the state has tried to wrap up their budget before summer recess, but we are a little bit delayed, and we're working with a split legislature and administration between the parties. So things may be a little bit slower going this year. The governor has put out some really big, tough priorities that we imagine the legislature will be tackling with roads and education. So it may be pushed out into the summer a little bit more this year than usual. We'll have to see kind of what that timeline looks like, and we'll keep you updated. But we do hope that there are opportunities for us to engage as we move forward. And all right, just checking to see if we have any questions or any hands raised about that. Okay. So the next item on our updates are House Bills 4152 and 4153. Jason, you want to remind us of what those are and where we are with those?
So thanks, Laurel. So these bills were introduced by Reps Guerra and Johnson, and they focus on accessibility and affordability for birth records that are obtained from the MDHHS Central Registry as opposed to the birth records obtained via the local county clerk's office. So the two pieces of legislation are trying to make it easier for the county clerk's office to access the vital records via the MDHHS Central Registry, and are also allowing for the county clerk's office to charge whatever their fee is versus charging the MDHHS Central Registry fee. So as a little bit of a reminder, on average, the current range for the county clerk's offices are $10 to $30 for this year, as opposed to the $34 starting price for the birth record from the MDHHS Central Registry. So in terms of updates, the legislation has now made it out of two committees in the House, and it just Thursday made it out of the House Committee on Ways and Means. So some point in time this week, it should hopefully make it to the House floor. Talking with Reps Johnson and Guerra at Advocacy Day last week, they both seemed fairly confident that it was going to get a fair amount of support in the House. And we need to follow up with them now to see what their game plan is in the Senate.
So good news, we're moving along.
Yeah, exactly. This bill has made it a lot farther in a relatively short period of time this year than it did all of last year. So, because these bills were introduced last year by the same representatives and never made it to a committee hearing. So, very different landscape this year.
And we're very lucky to have some strong advocates who have come out and given testimony. As we move into the Senate, I'm sure there'll be more opportunities to coordinate that with Jason.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other, as Laurel said, the one advantage we have with these two specific pieces of legislation is the Michigan County Clerks Association is on board and is very supportive and would like to see this happen. So it's good to have that level of county government active and out and testifying, because all the hearings we've been to, they've had a very strong presence and are very much in favor of seeing these bills pass.
Great.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, go ahead and send them in. As I said, there is a PDF that you can download in the handout, and that will have a link that you can click on with those two bills if you want to read more about them. Eric, you want to talk to us about consolidated plans?
Sure. Just a quick FYI. Hopefully, most of you are familiar with the consolidated plan, but MSHA has put out its public comment notice regarding the consolidated annual action plan. Prior to submission for any further funding from HUD, Michigan has to submit or prepare a consolidated housing and community development plan, which is the consolidated plan that proposes an action strategy for the, well, it'll be the next year, basically. They're put together for a 5-year block, and we're talking about this year, July through June of next year, of having a plan laid out. So it covers 5 different programs that are funded through HUD, which includes the home program, the CDBG, the HOPWA dollars, but also what we're most familiar with, I think, the Emergency Solutions Grant, and also the Housing Trust Fund. And so they need to solicit comments or input from everybody on an annual basis. So this is an opportunity for you to weigh in on it. The actual plan is available on the MSHDA website, which is mishda.gov/MSHDA. You can find it there and go through all 91 pages if you would like. If you have any thoughts or input you want to share on it, you can participate in their in-person hearings that will be taking place in Detroit on April 24th or Lansing on Thursday, May 2nd. You can also submit something in writing to them. You can also do both of those, or you can reach out to us if there's anything that you would like us to make sure is on our radar screen and provide some input on your individual behalf, your agency's behalf. Please let us know. If you want some more information, again, go to the MSHDA website to get the details about the times and the locations of those meetings. So I just went through it very quickly, but if anybody has any questions, let me know or reach out to me after the call. We can get you more detail.
So if someone wants to submit comments through us, you'll be our point of contact on that? Okay, so that's Eric. The email address that he uses should be the one that you guys received as a reminder for this call. So you should have his email address handy. All right, seeing no questions, we will move on to our federal updates. This is all you, Eric.
What? Federal updates? Well, not a ton to report, not a lot to report with respect to the budget. Last meeting, we did talk a little bit about the executive budget draft that was put out, so not a lot happening there yet. But I did want to just mention that the National Housing Trust Fund allocation was put out for 2019. That's not a huge block of money, and it's only been funded over the last several years. But this year it's going to be close to what it was last year, so it's roughly $5 million. I believe last year it translated into 4 projects, so it's not at the same level of the LIHTC dollars, but that is another allocation that comes from the feds, and it's administered then through MSHDA, and that would be also referenced in the consolidated plan. So if you want to weigh in on that, there's your opportunity. So just wanted to share that, give you a quick update.
And NAEH?
The NAEH conference, yes. Good news, bad news. The conference is happening. The bad news is they have closed registration on it. I don't know if it was a record or not, but it seems like it was within 2 weeks it was closed out. And so I think you still have an opportunity to get on a waiting list. I don't know exactly where that information is. It's probably on the NAEH website, but if you're interested, I do know that there are people who do fall off for different reasons, cannot attend, or people who did sign up that had not prepaid that may change their mind after if their funding doesn't come through. So if you're really interested, I would advise you to try to get on that list. And the Capitol Hill visits are moving forward, so we're excited about that and hoping that those that are registered, those of you who are registered, will reach out to us and let us know you would like to attend, and we will pull you into the scheduling process.
Thank you. All right, so let's do our quick policy priorities update. We really just wanted to take a chance to talk about Advocacy Day and just get really geeked out about the experience and how much fun we had. But before we do that, just want to do another quick poll. Want to know who on the call actually attended Advocacy Day, so we know how much we need to get into some of the specifics on our talking points. So just take a quick second, let us know if you attended. It was last week, the 16th, here in Lansing. And kind of early results here of this poll looks like the majority of folks did not attend. You missed something really fun, by the way, but we won't guilt you too much. Take just another 5 seconds or so. Let us know if you attended or not.
You missed Laurel's improv comedy routine.
You missed Jason singing Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go ahead and close that. So it looks like the majority of you on the call did not attend, which is perfectly fine. We'll go ahead and go over a little bit of what the day was like and then give you some updates about what we're doing next. So what you're seeing on the screen are just some candid shots from the day. We had people out and about in Lansing. We had nearly 100 folks who were able to attend for the day. We met with over 65 legislative offices, and we dropped off information with every single one of our state legislative offices, which means that every office now has a shiny folder with all of our specific asks for this year about housing insecurity and homelessness. And as a reminder, we've gone over these a decent amount, but I know there's some new people on the call. But as a reminder, our ask, we're focused on increasing access and decreasing barriers to affordable rental units, which more specifically included the 2 bills that Jason mentioned earlier about birth certificates. Also included a source of income bill or a source of income discrimination bill that is in draft form by Representative Wittenberg. His picture is there on the top right corner. He came and addressed our group, as did the 2 sponsors of the birth certificate bills. We also had an ask about, it's been so long, now I'm forgetting, about the Michigan Housing and Community Development Fund and finding a permanent resource for that. And then finally, we had our funding ask, which included an increase in the per diem for the emergency shelter program and an item that is in the governor's budget for birth certificates to waive fees for those who either go through the DHHS Central Registry or their county clerk's offices. So we had a lot of things that we went out and we talked about. We did the day by starting everybody out in the same room to talk about or to go over those talking points and to get a sense of kind of how you can be a strong advocate on these issues. And then we broke out into 22 teams, I believe, and each team had at least 2 people in it. And they met with their state legislators, their House rep and their senators for their home and work districts when possible. We got them into 4 different meetings. And they went out, had good meetings, chatted with the legislators or their offices or their staff, and then came back and let us know how it went. So we're fortunate enough now to have a whole lot of notes from our teams telling us what the reception was of the different legislative asks that we had, what kind of questions the legislators had, and how we can move forward. And so we're in the process of going through those notes and trying to kind of put that in a format that we can really understand and know where we need to go next. But the feedback was generally positive. Our legislators seemed to be on board with a lot of the issues that we were bringing before them. We heard that there was a lot of education that was happening. A lot of folks had some misunderstandings about homelessness and housing insecurity, or just weren't aware of the different programs and services that are provided in their district. So there was a great opportunity for folks to come in from their agencies and actually educate their legislative offices about what they do, which is, for us, a fantastic benefit of this program, or of this day. It really gets people in with their legislators to kind of brag about the impact that they're having in their community. But then we also got a lot of specific questions about the legislative asks that we had, and a lot of interest in moving some of those forward. So as you can imagine, we try to meet with both sides of the aisle. We try to get in as many visits with Democrats and Republicans as we could. And there was definitely interest across the aisle, which is excellent for us. We like to think of housing as a bipartisan issue, and we're definitely seeing that in the reporting that we got back. But there are, of course, were some differences in the level of interest between the 2 parties as well. So we're currently trying to navigate that and figure out what our next steps are. But to kind of go through those asks again and give you an idea of our next steps in the upcoming months, starting with appropriations, since that's the most timely. We are going to continue working with both the House and the Senate on that ESP ask, making sure that it's introduced on both sides. We have a sponsor on the House side to see a $24 a day per diem for ESP. That is a $6 increase from where we currently are. We anticipate that the Senate will, if we can find someone in the Senate to go in for that, that it will eventually come down to a much more modest level, but we're going, the representative who is sponsoring this is going in high. For the rest of the appropriations ask, we're just going to continue meeting with those committees that oversee those budgets and advocating for those important those important appropriations asks. For the birth certificates, House Bills 4152 and 4153, Jason kind of outlined for you our next steps with working on the Senate with those. For source of income discrimination, we are still seeking a Republican co-sponsor in the House. Representative Wittenberg is a Democrat, so we'd love to see a Republican come forward so this can be a bipartisan issue. We heard a lot of interest, but we need to find that Republican is really going to be our champion on this. And then for the Michigan Housing and Community Development Fund, this one's going to be a much longer journey for us, and we're working with a lot of state partners to move this one forward. But as you'll see in a couple of minutes, we are going to be talking about this at the upcoming Building Michigan Communities Conference, and have another chance to engage with our legislative offices about this ask and making sure that we are moving forward on finding a permanent revenue source for this important fund that's at the state level that really does provide more opportunities to fund some programs and projects specific to very low-income households and those experiencing homelessness. Anything that I missed, Jason or Eric or Katie?
It was a good time.
We almost ate all the pizza we ordered.
We didn't even come close to drinking all the coffee.
I just want to take a second to really say thank you to Jason and Eric for supporting this, but especially thank you to Katie and to our intern Caroline, who wasn't here. They put together the schedules and mailed us calls to make the meetings happen. Without them today really wouldn't have happened at all. So publicly, thank you, Katie, for doing everything that you did. All right. Any questions about Advocacy Day?
We've had one comment come in, and we've had folks actually meet with legislators already since Advocacy Day.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
Thank you for that. That's obviously the goal, is that you guys continue this engagement. So really appreciate that you guys are still out there doing this work. And hopefully it's going to pay off for you. Hopefully you're going to build that strong relationship and get the legislators to some of your events and activities.
I do have a question about whether or not folks have access to the materials that we put together if they want to have them, those that didn't attend.
Not on this webinar, but in the follow-up information, I can attach those. Yeah, so everybody can see the documents.
Right. Well, and then think in terms of messaging and try to be consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. No other questions or comments?
Next year, I think we need selfie sticks. I don't know if they're actually allowed in the Capitol, but we need.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll need to research that by next year.
All right, we can do that. All right, very quickly to go over the rest of our updates. We are just speeding through this call today. I think we're all still a little bit Advocacy Day hungover, maybe. Just a little bit. So some additional MICA updates, just so you guys know what's going on here with our offices. I mentioned that the Michigan Housing and Community Development Fund will be a talking point at the Building Michigan Communities Conference. That conference is next week. On Tuesday, we will be having a lunch on the lawn where we have the opportunity to go out and actually be on the Capitol lawn, and legislative offices have been invited to come out and enjoy a meal with us. And it should be an opportunity for anyone who participates to introduce themselves to their legislative offices, say hello. But we're also preparing folks with some talking points about the fund. So if you wanted to talk about something that everybody's going to be prepared to talk about, you'll have some information to do so. In order to prep folks, we're doing a webinar today at 2 o'clock, which I know is not a lot of notice for you guys. But we will, again, record that and have that available on our YouTube channel. But the webinar today is just going to go over the fund. If you have any questions about what that is, what we're hoping to do with it, but also just kind of give you some tips on how to be a strong advocate, what you can do as a nonprofit employee, and kind of what that lunch on the lawn is going to look like for next Tuesday. So if you're attending BMCC and kind of still on the fence about if you want to go to that lunch or not, I encourage you to watch the webinar or register and attend it today at 2 o'clock so you have a better sense of what we're going to be doing with that.
I guess it would have been nice to have gotten a poll to find out how many people on the call are going to be going to BMCC.
Yeah, sorry, can't do that. Can't do that now.
Okay.
All right, Jason?
Thank you, Laurel. So I suspect that most of the folks on the call are aware of the fact that SB 404 passed at the tail end of last year, and the fee waiver program that's associated with SB 404, so that literally homeless individuals who are seeking state ID no longer have to pay the $10 fee, went into effect on April 1st of this year, which is all exciting news. But we've teamed up with the leadership from the State ID Task Force to provide a series of trainings and webinars, and just wanted to highlight that there are, while we've already provided a handful of webinars, there's already some additional training opportunities on the schedule. And the one thing that we didn't include is the fact, because the registration's closed now, is that there is a in-person training opportunity this coming Monday at the convening, which will be the morning of April 29th, before BMCC starts, so the Building Michigan Communities Conference. Before that launches at lunchtime on Monday, there will be a convening. And as far as we know, the last item on the agenda will be a training on the state ID fee waiver process. So for those of you who will be attending the convening, you'll get a chance to hear about how that process is working. I think we're also planning to use BMCC as an opportunity to get some feedback from folks in the field about how the process has been working now that we're getting close to being a month in. And we're also going to be launching a survey next week as well, to get some feedback from folks across the state to make sure that the program is working equally well everywhere. Additionally, we've already scheduled another webinar for May 8th. As you can see, from 11 to 12. The two webinars we've hosted already, we've netted over 400 people trained, but we know that that's a drop in the bucket given the number of agencies that are out there across the state. So we are planning to probably, at this point, we're planning to provide one more webinar towards the end of May, and then I think we're going to assess where we're at numbers-wise with the May webinars, and then figure out from there what else we need to do. But if you have any suggestions about other forums for trainings, things like that, we're certainly open to suggestions. You can contact me, and we can chat about any ideas you might have. But right now, the system is working pretty well.
Good, glad to hear it. And then our final update is just a reminder of our Breakfast of Champions. This is our annual event. This is our 6th year of holding this event here in Lansing. And it's our opportunity to kind of celebrate the work that's happening out in the field. So we will be honoring 4 different champions this year, and we will be announcing those this week. But we're very excited about those really fantastic folks who are getting great things done in their communities, and we can't wait to honor them. The link, which again you can find in the PDF in the handout section, is to purchase a ticket. They're $35 here in Lansing on May 29th in the morning, since it is a breakfast. It's a fun event, and it's really a chance to kind of network with folks and see people who you may not actually get to see very often, and to just kind of celebrate. So we encourage you all to attend, and if you have questions, you can contact me on that one. But like I said, we'll be announcing our champions later this week. And
who's the keynote speaker this year?
Oh, so our keynote speaker will also be announced soon. But it is Fred Karnas. He is with the Kresge Foundation, and he also has just a huge resume of experiences with the homeless sector and with excellent work in this field. So we're very excited to have him join us and to kind of share his insight and what he's learned over the years. He's kind of teased that he's going to be talking about funding, which is fantastic since he is with a philanthropic organization. But he's also going to be talking about policy in Washington and local efforts. So it's going to be a really great talk, I think.
And I would encourage all of you to get a ticket and attend. It is a great opportunity to hear some new things, and it is an excellent speaker with a lot of experience, but also an opportunity to network, as Laurel said. But I would cast down the gauntlet and challenge all of you to bring someone with you as well. It's an opportunity for others to learn more about what's going on and also to recognize the good work that people are doing in the field, which is something we don't do as much as we should, and making sure we give a shout out to those people who are doing great things, and this is a wonderful venue for that. So I encourage you and others to come.
All right.
Speaking of shout outs, may I add something here that I forgot to do earlier?
Yeah, well, Eric's doing that. This is your opportunity to let us know what's happening in your community, so you can type or raise your hand. Take this opportunity while Eric talks to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, and I apologize when we were talking about the National Life and Homelessness Conference and the Capitol Hill Day visits. I forgot to mention that we have a co-captain that will be working with me this year. Katie Giza, who is from the Homeless Action Network of Detroit, has volunteered to take on that role. Very excited about that. So I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledge that and recognize her willingness to take that on. So thank you very much, Katie, and looking forward to sharing the work and spreading the wealth, so to speak.
Thanks, Eric. So if you, as I said just a second ago, if you have something that you'd like to report out about what's happening in your community, let us know now. You can type it out in the questions box or the chat box. Or if you're somewhere quiet and you'd rather report out verbally, raise your hand, we'll unmute you, and you can let the group know what's going on. But I think, as we wait for people to kind of send that in or send in any last minute or any last questions about any of the content today, I think this is a record for us. We got through this call in about 32 minutes so far. So not too bad.
You want me to fill a little bit? I can give the opening 2 paragraphs of Richard Nixon's memoirs if you want.
Interesting.
I was born in the house my father built.
No, we'll skip it. We think we're hilarious.
Not even caffeine induced. That's what's scary.
All right, so I'm not seeing any comments come in. No one's raising their hand. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Just a reminder that we do meet monthly on the 4th Monday of the month, which means that our next call is scheduled for May 27th. I think May is typically a month that we cancel just because of so many things going on, but keep it on your calendar for now in case something really pressing comes up and we want to convene everybody to update you. But that's one of the meetings that we may postpone.
May 27th is actually Memorial Day.
So we'll definitely be canceling May 27th. This is Memorial Day. All right, so we will be meeting in June then. Thanks for catching that, Eric.
No problem.
And I think that's it for us. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for spending this beautiful Monday with us. And if you have any questions or follow-up after the call, feel free to reach out to one of us. And we'll see you guys hopefully at the breakfast, hopefully at BMCC. And if not, then we'll catch you in June. All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.